I think about AI now, the buzz, the hype is there, but people are starting to think, okay, well, what's the utilization of it? Like, what are we going to do with it, and how do we make it real? So I know in my conversations with executives and senior leaders of businesses, the ideation phase has sort of gone full circle. There's plenty of those out there in terms of use cases that we want to explore. Now it's time to go and drive it into the business. And actually, then the question becomes, what's the ROI going to be? And I think Microsoft partnered with IDC, and the early results are about a 3.5 return on investment. Dollar spent gives you 350 back. Not bad. I actually argue that will probably be just the initial phases and wave of AI use cases. I think actually when we see the AI be more embedded into business processes, the ROI will increase significantly. But no question, it's a good idea, and we want to keep going through it. When you think about AI, you also think about Copilot. A lot of buzz around Copilot lately. And I'm super excited about what Microsoft's position is around Copilot, because I love the fact that I never learned how to create a pivot table in Excel, and I never will have to. And so that's good. But all jokes aside, clearly we're creating a lot of productivity gains with the white collar workforce. But what I get super excited about is the productivity that we're going to see in retail with the frontline worker. The intersection of that technology and the empowerment and enablement of technology at the hands of the store associate. Thinking about how to create an employee experience that transfers over to the customer experience. Things like next best action at a handheld device of, well, what do I need to be doing now? I've had several conversations with customers already about that in the last 2 days. And so I think that's going to be really where we go in terms of the Copilot utilization that I think is exciting in our industry.
This is Vision AI. So think vision technology meets AI technology. And that's our AITRIOS solution. And we have a lot happening right now, especially in this sector, especially in retail. Retail are very progressive users of camera technology overall, I think stemming from security space. And so we've been doing a lot for years, and it's been an interesting year. All these topics we talked about, right? And all the attention on AI, and we've absolutely seen things tip from experimenting and investigating to deploying and piloting, which is pretty fun for us. I'm from the division of Sony that makes image sensors. So as an example, it's a very, very high probability that the camera on your mobile phone is an image sensor component from Sony. And what we've done is we've taken that high quality image sensor and we've married it with AI capability all on the same chip. So I would have loved to show you the chip, but it's about a fraction of your fingernail. But effectively, really running AI on the edge on cameras like this. And when we run right behind the lens of a camera, the AI capability with the image sensor, you get really obvious advantages, right? We're doing AI at the edge, so you get very fast performance, very low battery, right? And one of the things we had to do is, since we have such a small form factor where we're actually doing AI, right? Machine learning, running models, is we've had to simplify other things in our approach to do this. Meaning, what we're taking off the camera as far as insights are metadata, small pieces of information, like, reading barcode information and correlating it to other text on the box, like validity dates or expiration dates, counting products, counting people, right? Sending that data right off the camera as notices, pings, little metadata, so that you don't have to data science this to death. So we're effectively providing right off the camera insights, what retail cares about typically. What was happening a couple of years ago, everyone was online, right? There was a big bias online. And we know that online experience, we can see bloody every move the customer makes, right? Every page they look at, everything they compare, where they point their mouse, everything they're doing. And their checkout experience, we see when they abandon their carts, why they took things out. right? I mean, it's such an informative, data-rich experience. And now you're luring them back to your stores. You're promoting online reasons to go to the store. And what do you have, in store? You have point of sale and sell-through data. What about all those movements? And what about all those considerations, right? Where did all that go, right? So it's been very, very interesting, right, as far as that experience goes. So where we come into that, of course, is we see the product and people movements. And the front of store, very meat and potatoes use cases for us are looking at shelf availability, right? What we're looking at is we're looking at times people are spending looking at promotions. If you're in retail, you're probably maybe selling promo space and end caps to vendors. So we can now see, is it 100 people or 2 people looking at the end cap, right? We can make the in-store experience with simple, vision AI, much more informative, much more rich.
Lindex is a Microsoft customer and an early implementer of a generative AI assistant for their store associates. So just as Carlton was mentioning, we see so much opportunity to really empower our frontline workers. I would love for you to share a little bit about, really what is driving your digital transformation strategy when it comes to the store associate experience.
And looking back, we have shown that we really can drive growth, but we also drive costs, like in the same linear way. So our focus has been to decouple costs from growth, and that's where digital investments and automation comes in. So that's why we started our digital store program to rebuild our stores from the ground up, having new networks, new Wi-Fi, new POS system, devices, RFID, like everything. And also building up new digital capabilities. So we are coming from a historical path. We have a lot of technical depths, but that is something that we are removing now. And that's where the Lindex Copilot comes in. So we kind of had the problems or the challenges. We had the investments. And then Christmas last year came and ChatGPT came.
Yes.
So a new opportunity.
It's wonderful.
We really wanted to create a platform where we could leverage different LLM, large language models, directly in our business process. When you think about new technology, don't read too much about all the discussions online, what everybody is thinking, because everybody's thinking a lot about AI. Not that many are doing things. And as soon as you start working with AI, kind of the way you view risks, they don't go away, but they are different than the ongoing discussions. The challenges, which are very clearly dictated about generative AI, like hallucinations, etc., they are absolutely manageable and taking too much space in our discussions today. I really don't go from that mindset, you can't do this, you have to adapt for the AI, you have to understand the AI and adapt your ideas to that. I really just set out how I want things to be. So I don't want it to hallucinate, of course. I don't want it to invent things for the store workers, right? So I wanted to know all our data sources directly from their systems. So we today have connected ChatGPT 4 directly to all these data sources that grown organically. And we have made ChatGPT behave well, not hallucinate, and have intelligent, at least contextually, good conversations about any topic which we have documented. And there is like a rule, you shouldn't engage in an AI project unless you really have good data, right? And I love going against the stream. I love going in the other direction. So I thought, why don't we turn this around instead? So our workers have had these data sources for 15 years. Why aren't they not good enough now? And actually, we really don't know where they are lacking data. We actually don't know all the conversations which are going on in the stores. So we really provided a chat interface for stores to have this conversation about all the daily stuff. Either it's an official process or questions from a customer you're serving or whatever, instead of creating these lead times.
So this watch that you're seeing here, that's not a video. It is an actual 3D rendering of a product that is designed in Maya and then brought into NVIDIA Omniverse for collaboration. And you can take that 3D rendering and actually bring it into generative AI and create some pretty incredible advertising and marketing campaigns. And it also can change the texture of a product. It can say, you know, what is that chair going to look like in blue as opposed to in gray? And so all of that are these incredible multimodal capabilities of generative AI that makes this so exciting, especially for the retail and consumer packaged good industries. So as we work with a lot of our customers, you know, we see a lot of generative AI use cases. And of course, I think most of you know, many customers started and companies started with, well, let's at least try it with employee-facing use cases and then expand into customer-facing use cases. I want to make sure that it's not going to hallucinate and it's not going to, I'd say, you know, flirt with your customer. Maybe that's not the brand tone that you have, right? So how do you put the guardrails around it and how do you train it to be representative of your brand and the tone of your company and how you want it to represent answers. So, for example, product description generator is an excellent example of employee productivity. I don't know about you, but whenever I search online, no matter what I'm looking for, it seems like Amazon products come at the very top. And the reason for that is that they have at least 75 words describing their products. And now you can use generative AI that leverages all the wonderful meta tags and information that you've, you know, the attributes that you've put in there for your products, that your content managers have done, and create very, you know, descriptive and more detailed description of your products that actually improves your SEO optimization. So that's, you know, a very simple way of using generative AI as an assistant for your content management team that can very quickly now create content that is much more comprehensive and descriptive of your products and actually improve your SEO optimization.
The AI adoption that we actually, this is actually on our website also on the 2024 projections for AI, 73% of the organizations in some shape and form have already adopted AI. So for those of us who have been operating in this space, whether you're talking about natural language processing capabilities for voice of the customer analysis, you're doing forecasting models, you're doing price elasticity models, you're doing optimization models, it is no surprise that to date you have already employed on the AI journey. What's interesting, obviously, is if you take a look at these statistics, what is next? And we all talked about AI is going to be embedded into the processes, AI is going to drive incremental value for the organization. It is our projection that this premise is actually 40% workforce productivity in the near future. We all operate in a retail environment, and we have hundreds of thousands of employees in certain instances. The employee productivity component clearly is number one today in the C-suite agenda, in the board agenda. Now, clearly, to make AI work, you gotta have to have the data infrastructure in place. Many of the companies that we work with have gone through some sort of a data modernization effort to actually consolidate the structured data. What's missing and where the value lies technically is not necessarily your enterprise data warehouse and how you run currently sales reports. Rather, it's all the data that has never, ever made it into your enterprise data warehouse. It's your standard operating procedures. It's your voice of the customer platforms. Anything and everything, contracts that you're actually looking at right now, that actually drives meaningful insight for you to make every decision count.
It's such a motivating time, and it's an interesting time. How is it with all these different generations, like Generation Z coming in, influencers? How is that influencing the way retailers are going about their digital strategy?
It's getting harder and harder. Gen Z are really walking paradoxes. They're consuming way, way more content. They're spending 4 hours a day on social media. researching different brands and consuming content. So retailers and CPGs are having to heavily amp up their content production. At the same time, the flip side is their loyalty. Their loyalty is 80% likely to flip to a different brand or try something different if they think they're going to get a bargain. And you think about that complexity and navigating that generational maze in terms of different social media channels. You know, where do you advertise a Stanley thermos to somebody like your father, but equally, you know, an offensively large Stanley quencher to somebody like my teenage daughter? It's becoming very difficult. And once you have their attention, how do you turn that into a transactional experience? You know, you see the emergence of things like TikTok and Meta and their shopping experiences, like in-app shopping experiences. Well, it's small, it's growing, but about 65% of Gen Z is jumping on board. They're trying those different channels of commerce.
I know I found myself even dabbling in some of those, right? And it gets back to the people now, right?
Yeah.
So with the role of AI, like how is that actually helping people have a greater impact in the organization?
Exactly. You look at, you know, all those different channels and trying to turn them into transactional experiences. It's extremely hard for retailers to keep up. And I think that's where, you know, retailers, and you come to conferences like NRF and you look at all the capabilities around AI we're hearing today. That's where we're saying you got to be careful in terms of, as you combat and get a handle on all those different channels from your consumers, not to create siloed channels, even within your own workforce. And I think that's where, you know, where we're spending a lot of time at this conference and with Microsoft is their Microsoft Cloud for Retail and Microsoft Fabric.
Right.
So I love the talk that Lindex gave earlier. I mean, they're feeling it, they're experiencing, trying to bring all their data together to make a smarter AI. And what Sitecore is doing with Microsoft is combining that out of the box, like pre-built connectivity, bringing that real-time data, every customer, every order, like every transaction, every product in real time together. So you can focus on innovation.
Great. And then when I think about the brands, how are they using AI to attract the customer's attention and then drive that into sales? What are some great examples that you're seeing?
So like an example, like L'Oreal, we've seen this evolution very quickly. We went from customers asking Sitecore for software to spend specialized software to do like 2 weeks of collaboration to get the perfect piece out there to grab that consumer's attention, to adopting generative AI. In the case of L'Oreal, they've got 36 sub-brands, over 500 digital experience websites, and they're using generative AI already to help produce content and optimize their SEO experiences, saving over 120,000 hours of production.
It's incredible. Yeah.
And I think the other aspect of it too, when you talk about impacting the experience and some of the things that we're highlighting at the conference around things like Shopper Copilot. And again, that Lindex example, I was just on the side, just smiling because they get it. You know, the need to not let it hallucinate. The idea that, you know, if I put up a prompt like, help me plan my camping trip or help me plan my vacation and what I need. We're talking about Denmark, going to Denmark earlier. But I think the challenge for retailers is as generative AI creates these opportunities, these personalized experiences, producing content, what's your ability to transact? So when you take those prompts, does it know all your products? Does it know your inventory velocity? Does it know your inventory availability? These are the things that really retailers need to expect out of the box. And that's what we're doing with Microsoft. But then equally, what are those unique experiences to like turn them into transactional experiences?
So there are 4 areas right now that we are focusing on. And I have been at CES last week and here at NRF, we are talking about generative AI. And what we are hearing mostly is most of the executives do not have a roadmap or they don't know where to start from with generative AI. So we have almost everyone has AI in their enterprise or they are using a form of it in customer experience. But with Gen AI, it is almost overwhelming. So we work with the executives and we assess their Gen AI opportunities actually. And we look at the business, where they are, and we help them come up with their strategy and roadmap to deliver their goals. That is one area. The second area is the enterprise. So all the Gen AI models out there, the large language models, they are open source. You can take them, but it is based on the generic data. So you have seen some of the pictures. It's not specific to company, right? So we take that data and we make it yours. We highly integrate it with your company's data and context. So if you haven't made any investment so far in Gen AI in the enterprise, I think in 2024, every company needs to look at that.
Yeah.
If you have already done it, the next level that we work on is the customer experience piece. And we would like to make it better for the customers and faster and more efficient for the companies. That is the area I'm most excited about because you can do it online and the social commerce is picking up the pace. So it is very critical for social commerce. The last one is the software engineering. And what we do is we use Gen AI to make the software smarter, safer, and faster. So it's almost like when you look at the companies, we are changing, transforming them, one AI solution at a time. But it has been going very well. Outside of these 4 pillars, we are going to expand into others in 2024.
My name is Jason Perocho. I am the VP of Product Marketing here at Amperity, joined on stage with Joyce Gordon, our head of Generative AI. As mentioned, our company name is Amperity. What does Amperity do? Well, we're an AI-powered CDP really built for identity and activation. Our AI is predicated on finding those hidden connections between your online and offline data so that you can create an accurate and holistic, comprehensive customer profile. And we were founded back in 2016, but know that we spent those first 2 years with our data science teams really crystallizing on our AI to help you solve the hardest problem in customer data, bringing together those profiles. And to date, well, we have 15 different patents on our AI, as well as over 300 different enterprise brands that utilize us. So what we want to talk about today is how to unlock generative AI. And we want to be very practical with the examples that we give to you all. It starts with a story. So I grew up in South Jersey, about 2 hours south of here, and I grew up in this small town called Medford. And in this town was Zach's Tailors. Now, this is a place that I went to for sophomore cotillion, junior prom, senior prom, my sister's wedding, my sister's second wedding. And what they helped me do is constantly find like the right clothing. And we all know what good personalized experiences look like. It's the welcoming guy at the front counter that's like, Jason, great to see you. You look great. Looks like you gained weight. Like, sorry, okay. But yeah, sure. Like they welcome me in, they invite me, learn the new style, we have a great conversation, and by the end, I'm not even trying these suits on anymore. I just inherently know that Sturgio knows exactly my size and the recommendation. I inherently trusted Sturgio because of the conversations we've had after all those years. And that's really the trick of personalization, is the one-to-one nature and the conversation of it all. You know, as technology evolved, we're like, hey, let's deliver personalization. Let's deliver personalization at scale. I'm sure that you saw it all over the floor at NRF. It's like, hey, you need to personalize, you need to personalize, you need to personalize. So what is personalization with technology? Oh, we included your first name to welcome you in our email. At best, we recommended, hey, here are 3 products that you might be interested in based on your based on your past purchasing decisions. Okay, but that's very one-sided. It's an email, it's a text, it's a chat message. There's no communication backwards. So while you are able to achieve scale, you're not actually personalization. And that's the opportunity right there of generative AI. Generative AI is the ability to replicate Sturgio to help you, guide you through a conversation to get to that point of sale. Now, how many out there are utilizing generative AI right now? Raise your hands. Don't be shy. All right. We've got about half the room tentatively doing it. Well, a crazy stat is that 30% of your marketing collateral outbound is going to be AI generated in 2025. Not to paint a dire picture, but if you're not on the generative AI train right now, figuring out how to utilize it in your processes, you're a step behind. But don't worry. Up on screen, we've come up with like the 3 top use cases that we see where folks are beginning with generative AI. And when you're dipping your toe into generative AI, it really starts with the human in the loop. The first use case I'd like to highlight is content creation. So by nature, I'm a product marketer, and part of being product marketing is to figure out, to write these persona documents for my sales teams. Now, what I've traditionally done in the past is, do an interview, sit down, structure an Excel document, fill out all the questions, synthesize what they're saying, and try to distill down a persona document that my sales teams can use. But just last week, I interviewed the VP of Digital and Loyalty at Wendy's. I structured 10 questions. I asked her those questions, recorded the interview on Zoom, had an AI-generated transcript, downloaded that transcript, went over to Claude.ai, which allows me to upload that transcript. I uploaded the 10 questions that I asked and say, hey, build me a persona document for this for my sales teams. It generated that within 5 minutes. I cleaned it up, and I put it out there for my sales teams. In the past, that was 3.5 hours of work. With generative AI, it was about 50 minutes, 45 which were the interview that I did with that VP. But this just highlights the point that this is going to really reduce the amount of hours that generative AI is helping with in content creation. The second use case out there is an AI concierge. Essentially, a generative AI conversation that directs a buyer to the products that they were looking for. This isn't thinking about like chatbots. In the past, we've used chatbots. It's like, hey, welcome, Jason. What size are you? What are you interested in today? Do you want X? Do you want Y? Blah, 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 blah. Too much time, bored. Hey, just kind of know me. You already have this data. Well, the AI concierge is going to replicate that example like Sergio. It's going to ask me 2 to 3 questions and then direct me to my lifestyle and brand fits. The third is really customer service. And think of it customer service in two aspects. First, customer service to deflect cases away from your service desk. So generative AI that would be able to help with automated returns, generative AI that would be able to help create a case ticket, and then internally, generative AI to help do some of the busy work that your support personnel are working on. We see that Stanford University has done a big research about this, and they've seen a huge increase in productivity with customer service agents.
So to wrap things up today, we're going to leave you with 3 tips to start implementing generative AI. Our first tip here, similar to the folks at Nvidia, we recommend getting started with a human-in-the-loop use case. So a use case where the generative AI isn't actively being deployed into the wild, but it's more a collaborator with your team. We all know that creative teams are notoriously under-resourced, and a fantastic place to start here are text-based use cases. So for example, if you're looking to optimize subject lines or calls to action for your different personas, the generative AI is a great partner for helping to come up with those, and then your team can tweak them, they can figure out which are the best fit for the market. So it's an accelerant. The items 2 and 3 here really relate to the data foundation. So the first is model context is at the root of many failed generative AI deployments. And by model context, that's just a fancy way of saying the data passed to the model. There are 2 types of model context that are critically important. One are examples. This is a technique called few-shot learning. So taking our conversational AI as an example, you would pass prompts the user might enter and then the ideal response that the generative AI would provide. And this is a great opportunity as well to incorporate your brand voice. And then the second piece of model context that's really important is customer data. So as we saw with the good and bad example, information on purchases, product preferences, customer attributes, demographics are all key. And if you ever deploy generative AI, it's not quite performing, our number 1 recommendation is come back, take a look at the model context. That's usually the root of the issue. And then our third recommendation is creating an identity spine and unifying profiles. This is the bedrock of any generative AI deployment that relates to personalization. We all know that personalization comes down to an understanding of your customer, empathizing with your customer, and that at its core is a data problem. It doesn't matter whether it's Sergio the sales associate that Jason had a fantastic experience with, or if it's a generative AI, the data foundation is key.
And I would say the top 5, 6 use cases that we see really are very valuable for our clients. As a retailer, we have been doing customer recommendation. We started with next best action, right? Hyper-personalization. I think it just converged, the IoT, in-store, all of that have come together, and you are able to deliver better customer recommendations across all the channels, right? That's very key for it. The second one, I know everybody talked about the natural language recognition or natural language generation. They talked about product description. They talked about marketing content, retail media. I think we are looking at very differently. Not just it generates all that stuff, which is pretty cool, but as you can also use that natural language generation for internal use cases. There is a client of us who is actually using NLG to generate the data lineage. Like, if you don't have a proper data, how are you going to use the data, right? You can create data lineage, you can create data definitions using NLG, right? And then the third one, everybody talked about conversational AI, so I'm not going to go deeper. But within conversational AI, it's not just only the chatbots, but our clients are asking, how can we bring this internally? So more employee tools, employee productivity, in-store assistant. So think beyond just the end customer. There is a lot that can be done with internal employees. And the fourth one, I would say, the convergence of IoT and in-store technologies that brought together what we call that adaptive channel or omni-channel integration. So you are able to recognize the customer in store using the IoT and edge computing technologies. And with generative AI, you are able to personalize online as well. So that's coming together really nicely. The last one I would say is the leakage prevention, fraud detection. It's very big for our retailers, right? They lose about $150, $160 million in revenue. So we really work on those areas. So generative AI is really important, but at the same time, what is really helping our clients is the convergence of those technologies, IoT, edge computing, and they've been sitting on really good first-party data and in the abundance of third-party data. That's what really helping our clients to really be on this exciting journey.
So we had developed a computer vision model for detecting defects on packaging for a CPG company. So we could get up to 84% accuracy with the computer vision model. That itself was a good amount of return from manual quality controls. However, we couldn't get beyond the 84% accuracy because lack of edge cases, edge images, edge scenarios like defects on a package or different types of defects on a package. So we used multi-modal generative AI to create those net new images and retrain the model. And the efficacy of the model increased by 6.6% point. Right? So what I'm seeing is generative AI and classical model, they're going to coexist and augment each other to drive better performance for models as well as business.
So we wanted to do something that would help make it easier for all of you, for retailers, to understand and leverage all of these amazing technologies and things that we've been talking about today, and all the new things that are still yet to come, that are inevitably going to be cloud-based and continue to be things that leverage the power of the cloud to help you achieve more and empower you to do more. That's the mission of RCA, and we want to do that across retail businesses of all sizes, all segments for you. And one of the ways we do that is by delivering as much educational content and resources that we can to help you navigate this digital age, especially now as we recognize we're entering the era of AI. So whether that's helping you with operational issues, empowering store associates, optimizing supply chains, maximizing the value of your data. It's really about scaling and preparing you for the future of retail.